Good Wednesday, everyone. I'm Cyrus Webb, and welcome to Conversation Nerdy News. Glad you all could be with us. Well, as I've mentioned, this is an abbreviated week. I'll be heading to Los Angeles today. This is my last day with you guys this week. Of course, you have your news headlines coming up on this hump day. I have a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By, in today's Entertainment Spotlight. You're part of my conversation with author Reginald L. Jr. about his powerful new book, The Day My Mother Never Came Home. You don't want to miss that. Enjoy today's broadcast. For Conversation Dirty News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Wednesday headlines. In Mississippi news, Jackson City Council approves ordinance calling for a city to seize vehicles involved in drive-by shootings, says 16 WAPT. The Jackson City Council approved an ordinance proposed by Ward 3 Councilman Kenneth Stokes that calls on the city to seize vehicles used in drive-by shootings. The proposed ordinance orders the Jackson Police Department to impound and the city to acquire title to any vehicles involved in drive-by shootings, according to the language in Stokes' proposal. The council unanimously approved the proposal, even after the city attorney Lee Martin told them their action is redundant because there is an existing state law that gives the district attorney the authority to seize cars used in drive-by shootings. We can't supersede state law, we know that, Stokes said. But we've got to start letting these copycats and others know that we are coming at you with these drive-by shootings. Stokes wants to go after cars teens use in crimes, even if the parents are not aware of it. Jackson Police Department Captain Christian Vance, who manages the city's impound lot, said any vehicle that was used in a drive-by has to first be transported to the state crime lab where it can be processed for evidence. According to Vance, there don't appear to be many reports of drive-by crime so far this year. Vance believes there may have been more of those cases last year. In national news, Biden releasing 1 million barrels of gasoline from Northeast Reserve in bid to lower prices at the pumps, says the Associated Press. The Biden administration said Tuesday it is releasing 1 million barrels of gasoline from a Northeast Reserve established after Superstorm Sandy in a bid to lower prices at the pump this summer. The sale from storage sites in New Jersey and Maine will be reallocated in increments of 100,000 barrels at a time. The approach will create a competitive bidding process that ensures gasoline can flow into local retailers ahead of the July 4th holiday and sold at competitive prices, the Energy Department said. The move, which the department said is intended to help lower costs for American families and consumers, follows a mandate from Congress to sell off the 10-year Northeast Reserve and then close it. The language was included in a spending deal Congress approved in March to avert a partial government shutdown. The Energy Department said the sale of 1 million barrels, about 42 million gallons, was timed to provide relief for motorists as the summer driving season begins. Gasoline prices average at $3.60 per gallon nationwide, up 6 cents from a year ago, according to AAA. Tapping gasoline reserves is one of the few actions a president can take by himself to try to control inflation, an election year liability for the party in control of the White House. The Biden-Harris administration is laser-focused on lowering prices at the pump for American families, especially as drivers hit the road for summer driving season, the Energy Secretary said in a statement. In more national news, ex-NYC Mayor Rudy Giuliani pleads not guilty to felony charges in Arizona election interference case. Former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani pleaded not guilty Tuesday to 9 felony charges stemming from his role in an effort to overturn Donald Trump's 2020 election loss in Arizona to Joe Biden. 10 others also pleaded not guilty to conspiracy, forgery, and fraud charges related to the case. Giuliani appeared remotely for the arraignment that was held in a Phoenix courtroom. During his remote appearance, Giuliani said he did not have an attorney at this time but will. When asked by the court whether he needed counsel appointed for the arraignment, Giuliani said, No, I think I'm capable of handling it myself. Giuliani said he received a summons but did not have a copy of the indictment. He said he is familiar with the charges, though, by reading about them. Arizona authorities tried unsuccessfully over several weeks to serve Giuliani notice of the indictment against him. Giuliani was finally served Friday night as he was walking to a car after his 80th birthday celebration in Florida. And finally, in business news, Wall Street drifts higher to set more records, says the Associated Press. U.S. stocks indexes drifted higher Tuesday to set more records following another quiet day of trading. The S&P 500 rose 13 points, or 0.3%, to 5,321 and surpassed its record set last week. The Nasdaq Composite added 38 points, or 0.2%, to 16,833 a day after setting its latest all-time high. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 66 points, or 0.2%, to 39,873, and is sitting just below its high set last week. Indexes have climbed to records recently, largely on expectations for the Fed Reserve to cut interest rates later this year as inflation hopefully cools. More reports showing big companies earning fatter profits than expected have also boosted the market. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's on time for a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By. Enjoy.
Good Wednesday, everyone. I'm Cyrus Webb, and welcome to Words I Choose to Live By. Choose to walk in this truth. Though your life might include its share of mistakes, your existence is not one of them. You were meant to be great, so let's go do it. Have an amazing hump day.
We are part of my conversation coming up with author Reginald L. Jr. in today's Entertainment Spotlight. Stay with us. You're listening to Conversation Daily News. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Entertainment Spotlight. Author Reginald L. Jr. joined me on Conversations Live, the radio show, to discuss his powerful new book, The Day My Mother Never Came Home. Here's a bit of our conversation.
Reginald, thank you again for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Cyrus. It's a pleasure to be on your show this morning. Thanks.
Hey, look, I appreciate the time. So, Reginald, as I mentioned, so many times we hear things. I can say this because here on the radio side here in Mississippi, I'm the news director, so a lot of times I'm sharing stories throughout the week with our audience. And a lot of times, we hear about these things happen. We may say, I'm so sorry to hear that, but then we kind of move on. But you've been able to actually to live this yourself. This is your own personal journey. So I want to ask you, first of all, what has it been like for you to not only to be able to share this with the world, but also to see the way that people are responding to it?
It's, first and foremost, it's been a long journey, I would say. I guess I'm starting to see like the impact by sharing my story, the impact that it's having and has begun to have on others. But, it hasn't been easy.
Right.
At the age of 6, when my mother was brutally murdered, that at that time, you can only imagine that my life, my father's life, was flipped upside down. And as a 6-year-old, it's hard to really understand what really happened and what was going on. And it wasn't until maybe early teenage years, like pre-teen years, is when I finally discovered what really happened to my mother. And it was tragic, and it's just been a life full of obstacles.
Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning in to this edition of Conversation Daily News. I'll be back to you guys on Mondays, more news, a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By, and of course your Entertainment Spotlight. Until then, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversation Daily News today. Let us go make today amazing. Take care.